the guarantee. E&E. Put your boy shit. Glitch, nigga. Shit, I'm about to flood the streets like when the levees break. Criminal minds, my Garcia can navigate. Flowing while I'm blowing this gas. Nigga, no grace. Niggas not seeing me ever. I mean, no dates. Fuck around and end up gone. You getting misplaced. E&E, the shit that I claim, you dealing with grace. Took over the game by storm like Rain's mixtape. Thankfully, I've been up in smoke like my mixtape. Counting cheddar shit, I'm about to make a grilled cheese. Niggas be faker than bad bitches with good weeds. On my John Wick shit like Keanu Reeves. Replacements won't be enough, you need the whole team. I've been a G since I could finish my ABCs. Kept it a buck so real niggas look up to me. This butcher boy shit get crazy when it's sick of me. I'm coughing out these dope bars till they sick of me.
Can't get rid of me, still can't find a remedy. Still blowing palmers, and feel cups of Hennessy. E&E, we own our shit independently. When I go out on the limb, I take extremities. I can see right through transparency. Hurting self-esteem, low insecurities. Now or never, like push the guarantee. What's the recipe? King L's Reflection 3. All these chapters in my life, you can turn a page. Books can't tell you my story, gotta live a day. Glitch got my back, yeah, you can copy that. Man, we control the seat, you can copy that. Leave your whole state red like Republicans. Put fire on the track, now it's bubbling. Put your boys E&E, you in trouble, kid. Add first 100 mil, you can double.
Let's go. All the hustlers getting money, let it show. Automatic, nigga, how we get the dough. If it ain't paper, then we probably gotta go. Put your boy shit, nigga, let's go. All the hustlers getting money, let it show. It's automatic, nigga, how we get the dough. If it ain't paper, then we probably gotta go. Put your boy shit, nigga, let's go.
Low, sick, corona, jealous in the motherfucker. Can't even take a step, that's how far I trust you. This black boy turned to shining king under pressure. West side fat jacks, I took more than measure. Shake the extras, that's business starter feed. Street blues, what I talk, boy, your blood flowing free. Power on my mind, no say gang is kind. Read between the lines, it was in my eye. If they ain't got real lines, it ain't hard to spot a counterfeit. Undefeated, ultra real, burn gully mountain shit. Couple hot shots, turn on the frozen margaritas. Even better when it's served with some flawless features. Next year they gotta pay for these flawless features. Flawless victories from the flaws that they teach us. Now my flow imitate how I board the plane non-stop. The little J gon' take over with my time side.
Yeah, I get right to it. My nigga, we begging pardon. We putting niggas back in boxes. Yeah, they need pardon. My flow be retarded. Sick, I need hella help. My groove came back. This must be how Stella felt. We just started kicking it like a yellow belt. We all made it to the pros. This is how LaMelo felt. You better yell out help. Here comes the double team. You catch me in the spot, then you know that the boy is clean. The Louis V look mean with the magazine. So if you try it, you get shot. No vaccine. If you was asleep before I came, then I'm the caffeine. I pull the jokers out the deck. Yeah, there ain't no laughing. In CEO fashion, we sticking to the business. Wouldn't even let a vegan knock me off my chicken. Something about the BBS when the sun is hitting. Should be flashing like the lights when you getting
Let's go. All the hustlers getting money, let it show. It's automatic, nigga, how we get the dough. If it ain't paper, then we probably gotta go. Put your boy shit, nigga, let's go. All the hustlers getting money, let it show. It's automatic, nigga, how we get the dough. If it ain't paper, then we probably gotta go. Put your boy shit, nigga.
Let's go. Yeah. What up? It's the man about town versus Barry, aka Stacks with the Facts. You know what I'm talking about, man? Y'all know y'all tuned in to another episode of Real Talk Podclass. I said Podclass, right? Shout out to my brother Uncle Diggity for coining that term. Shout out to my brother Red Supreme TV1. You know what I'm talking about? We creating a whole new space. You dig? We creating a whole new space, man. We got to start from the bottom, man. You know what I'm talking about, man? I also want to say, right? Let me move this out the way real quick so I can see my mic works so good it can pick up sound when it ain't close to my mouth. You did. But I just wanted to do this. Listen. And I wanted to cam up on y'all real quick. Shout out to my barber, Mr. Pringles the barber. You feel me? Shout out to my barber for getting me so crispy and clean and debonair. You know, every time I get in that barber chair, we have a nice chop up session. You understand me, man? We talk about real things, man. It's very cathartic and therapeutic for me, as I'm sure it is for him too. That's my brother. Be on the lookout for some more collaboration content between me and my brother, Mr. Pringles _ what's this? My home tripper. I'm giving y'all his Instagram handle and stuff. Mr. Pringles the Barber. Y'all go check him out on YouTube right now. Mr. Pringles the Barber. That's my brother. He been on the show. You know what I'm saying? We'll be on the lookout for some of them future collaborations between April Talk and Mr. Pringles the Barber. You know what I'm talking about? Stats with the Facts and Mr. Pringles the Barber. What's good with y'all tonight, man? How y'all doing? Are y'all ready to get straight to it, man? I don't know how many of y'all heard about what's going on in Atlanta. I'm pretty sure a lot of y'all have. But I haven't really even looked into the actual details of the story. There's no need for me to, because that's not what I'm speaking about, right? See, we got my brother Mr. Pringles in the building. You know what I'm talking about? We got Mr. Pringles the Barber in the building. In the comment section, what's good? You know what I'm saying? Y'all go subscribe to my brother page right there. You know what I'm saying? He give me crispy every time. You know what I'm saying? Y'all be wondering, all y'all ladies be wondering why I look so handsome, man. It's because of my brother, Mr. Pringles the Barber. He just get me together every trip. You know what I'm talking about? So y'all just make sure y'all go tap in with him. You know, so I just wanted to come up real quick and say that to y'all, man. You know what I mean? It's a beautiful thing. You dig? It's a beautiful thing. And we here. You know what I'm talking about? And like I said, it's a beautiful thing, man. Now, this situation that we getting into tonight, though, you hear me? This situation we getting into tonight with these riots going on down here in the A, man. You hear me? Man, I done sit up here and went in on this stuff, and it's going to be a continuous thing, man. You feel me? It's going to be a continuous thing with this situation. You hear me? Make no mistake about it, y'all. All right, let me get a different article than this, man. Let me get a different article than that. I want y'all to know, and this is the reason why I told y'all, whenever a situation pops up, you feel me, where it's a situation of a mass shooter or an active shooter or any situation like that, right? You feel me? I want y'all to know that at the crux of it, at the basis of it, at the foundation of it, it is HR 1955 protocols being implemented, right? Now, how many times have I sit up here and told y'all about HR 1955, man? I told y'all we're going to see more and more of this. We're going to see more and more of this type of situations, man. Right? We're going to see more and more of this. These things are being allowed to happen, and I would even say to some extent, and which is very much easily proven, being made to happen in order to bring in HR 1955 protocols. I sit up here and broke this thing down to y'all, I don't know how many times, man. And I'm going to continue to do it because it's important, right? Everything that we see going on in our society right now, right? With all these active shootings and people running up in Walmarts and stuff, shooting people and everybody wilding out, all this gang activity going on in Chicago and New York and everywhere else, Cali, all this stuff with all these rapper dudes being violently and brutally murdered in cities like Houston, the passing of the Safety Act in Illinois, the state of Illinois specifically, especially the city of Chicago, right? I want y'all to know that all this stuff is being done intentionally and wittingly in order to bring in HR 1955 protocols. Right? I'll go in on this so much, y'all, because I want y'all to understand that the Ministry of Truth is being established on YouTube, and HR 1955 is one of the main things being used to do it. Ideologically based violence. Right? And I'm going to keep going over this, y'all, because this is prevalent and prominent. This is at the base of everything that we've seen, especially specifically what's going on in Atlanta right now with so-called Antifa action. Diabolical, y'all. Diabolical. You hear me? Let's go to HR 1955, the Violent Radicalization and Homegrown Terrorism Prevention Act, 2007. Right? We're going to go over here to the text. We're going to scroll down. Ideologically based violence. The term ideologically based violence means the use, planned use, or threatened use of force or violence by a group or individual to promote the group or individual's political, religious, or social beliefs. Now, when you look up the word force, there's many definitions for the word force, one of them being mental and moral strength. So with that being said, ideologically based violence is the use, planned use, or threatened use of mental or moral strength or violence. And y'all see how they throwing in the effery with groups like Antifa to convolute that. So when you hear the word ideologically based violence or homegrown terrorism or radicalization, violent radicalization, you automatically are going to associate that with some type of physical violence, when actuality force doesn't necessarily mean you're using physical force. Force doesn't have to be physical. It could be mental, with the definition being mental or moral strength. So you could be considered spreading ideologically based violence if you use mental or moral strength, right, to promote a group or individual's political, religious, or social beliefs. And I want y'all to understand how serious that is, man, because that is how you got to break these words down. Because you're not going to over, enter, outer understand what they're saying until you have a good over, enter, outer understanding of the definition and the origin of words. They like to do what is called word association, because they know what our programmed minds as humans, especially in America, we do word association. So when we hear the word force and violence, we think they're the same thing. And they're not. You don't have to put your hands on somebody to use force on them. Notice it doesn't say physical force, or it doesn't say violent force. I want y'all to understand the difference, man. Right? Let's get to it. Tap in, walk with us, man. Listen to Tucker. You know, they be having these little commercials and stuff, man.
Well, the geniuses at the Mars Corporation imagined you might want to be lectured about sexual politics while you ate their chocolate candies. It turns out a lot of people didn't want that. They just wanted a snack. A dramatic new chapter tonight in the ongoing M&M Wars. We'll have an update in just a moment.
Wow, not the M&M Wars.
First, good evening and welcome to Tucker Carlson tonight. Whatever happened to Antifa? Ever wonder that? The shadowy, heavily armed left-wing militia group. The guys dressed like stormtroopers in black masks.
Oh, let me stop real quick, y'all. I'm going to pay them up because I got my brother, Mr. Pringles, in the building, right? Now, you remember I was just telling you about George Soros, right, bro? George Soros, right? Be right back. I'm about to come back up. George Soros, right, is the guy who presided over Antifa through his organization, right? If I'm not mistaken, George Soros died. Oh, no, he's still alive. Okay, it wasn't George Soros that died. It was David Rockefeller that died. Okay. Right. Right. George Soros. I'm about to put him up on the screen. Got to connect the dots, y'all. You have to connect the dots. Right. This is George Soros. Right. George Soros is a infamous, known, let's just say, Khazarian demon, right? Who built his wealth off of being a Khazarian demon, right? Now, but outside of that, that's another topic for another day. But he has a foundation, right? He has a foundation known as the Open Society Foundation. Right? Y'all hip to it? Where the logo at? Need that logo. Right? George Soros is the founder and creator of the Open Society Foundation, right? He has a network of what they call think tank organizations that is supposedly, allegedly pushing, what's the word I'm looking for here, man? Pushing social, or not socialism, but pushing democracy under the disguise of pushing socialist ideology under the disguise of so-called democracy and progressive movements, right? Look into what the Open Society Foundation all entails and all under their umbrella. You're going to find that Antifa is one of them. Black Lives Matter is one of them. Occupy Wall Street is one of them, amongst others. George Soros is the guy who funded and founded Black Lives Matter. It is alleged that Alicia Garza Schwartz, one of the three bras, were her and Opal Tometi and Patrice Cullors-Khan. Y'all didn't see me talk about these bras, right? They're funded by George Soros. Right? When you think of George Soros, think of people like the Rothschilds. Right? So that's who this guy is. And when we're talking about Antifa, we're talking about something that is the results of the Open Society Foundation, an organization that is funded by this organization, which means it's funded by George Soros. His name is caught up in all types of global debauchery. He done messed with the money over there in the United Kingdom. He was complicit in the rummaging and sacking of his homeland of Bulgaria, or should I say, or Hungary, when the Nazis came through back in the day. Oh, yeah, man. Y'all do some research on who this George Soros guy is, right? Right. Anyway, that's what I'm talking about. We're talking about Antifa, who is causing all this rigmarole down here in Atlanta with these riots. Let's go.
You remember them, of course, well from the summer of 2020. They burned our cities that year.
Mm-hmm.
Churches and police stations and courthouses. Now, the point of
that was in Columbus for sure.
Extensive violence and the killings they committed was to defeat Donald Trump, make the country so chaotic that voters would want to change. And they were effective in doing that. So effective that Kamala Harris herself raised money to bail them out of jail. In the end, Antifa
Y'all remember that?
played a pivotal role in our presidential election that year, more so than any other organized bloc of voters. Then, the moment Joe Biden was inaugurated, Antifa seemed to disappear. Nobody asked any questions about where they went, much less about who they were or who was paying them. They'd served their purpose, and then they left. So in retrospect, it's very clear who Antifa was and is. Antifa is the armed instrument of the permanent Democratic establishment in Washington.
Right? Well, we ain't done. I'll just pause for a second. Right? Sister and brother organizations, right? Antifa is the military arm of Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter is the propaganda arm of Antifa. That's some game for y'all right there, man. Shout out to Larry Gators, man.
Their job is to mobilize when politically necessary. Now, this is a new thing in the United States, but political militia are a common feature in third world politics.
Yep.
They're a staple in Haiti. In our country, however, only one party has them, the Democratic Party. They're the only ones with armed militia in the street. So with that in mind, it's interesting to note that Antifa is back in force. And that's probably not a very good sign for Joe Biden. If nothing else, Antifa has a solid track record of getting rid of sitting presidents. Here's a report from Fox 5 in Atlanta over the weekend.
Police arrested 6 people in the violent protest that left several buildings damaged and a police car destroyed after it was set on fire.
Wow, look at these dudes, man.
Downtown Atlanta erupted into a scene of chaos Saturday night as a protest took a violent turn. At least 3 buildings were damaged when rioters threw bricks and rocks, shattering windows. At least 2 police cars were targeted. One even lit on fire.
Damn.
Atlanta police say within 2 blocks of the protesters starting their destruction, they dispersed the crowd. 6 people were arrested. All of them are facing 8 charges, including domestic terrorism and arson. Only one is a Georgia resident.
Unleash the wackos!
Huh? Y'all hear this? I strongly suggest that y'all go look into this. Go research HR 1955, y'all. I'm going to keep telling y'all about this. I'm never going to stop. I'm never going to grow tired of it. Right? Y'all need to look into this, man. This is about to get serious out here, man. Y'all sitting up here arguing over this gender war bullshit, man. They're coming for all of us, like I've been telling y'all, man. No black, no white, none of that bullshit. They're coming for all of us. They're coming for all of us. If y'all read HR 1955, what y'all going to find out is that it says you can be deemed a homegrown terrorist. You can be deemed spreading ideologically based violence. You can be deemed a purveyor of violent radicalization. And it don't matter what your race is, although they say in the legislation, let me pull it up for y'all. I'm going to read this to y'all. This is why I tell y'all to study etymology. Let me read it. This is word salad, mind effery to the fullest right here, right? Right? Listen to this. Now listen to this, y'all. Individuals prone. Now, this is the findings right here. This is out of the findings. This is the number 7 finding. Individuals prone to violent radicalization, homegrown terrorism, and ideologically based violence span all races, ethnicities, and religious beliefs. And individuals should not be targeted based solely on race, ethnicity, or religion. I'm going to repeat that for y'all who may not have understood what I just said and what you just heard. Individuals prone to violent radicalization, homegrown terrorism, and ideologically based violence span all races, ethnicities, and religious beliefs, and individuals should not be targeted based solely on race, ethnicity, or religion. That says that word, keywords y'all need to pay attention to in this sentence is should not be targeted. That doesn't mean you won't be. That doesn't mean you can't be. That doesn't mean you're not going to be. It's just saying that you, by moral, you should not be deemed guilty of a homegrown terrorist or violent radicalization or spreading ideology-based violence based on your race, your religious beliefs, or your ethnic roots, but you most definitely will be, right? You shouldn't be, but you will be. And this is why I be telling y'all that it don't matter what I be telling you, all this so-called black, white bull crap, man. All this so-called pro-black Pan-Africanism, white guys, Proud Boys, all that stuff, man. Don't y'all know they got this legislation right here set up for you guys. They're not discriminating against race. They just use the illusory construct of racism to keep us divided and separated. But if we all come together, we could never be caged in. Right? That's why all my people who be on that race stuff real heavy, right? Not saying that race isn't an issue. I'm not saying that race doesn't exist. I'm not saying it's not a problem. I'm just saying it's not the only problem. And it damn sure ain't the big problem. Because these people don't care nothing about race. Because once again, according to House Resolution 1955, individuals prone to violent radicalization, homegrown terrorism, and ideologically based violence spans all races, all ethnicities, and all religious beliefs. Now, the question is, who is an individual? Who's an individual? Right? What does it mean to be an individual? Let's go back to Tucker, man.
Somebody has unleashed the wackos. There's always a pretext for this. There's always a story they tell you to pretend it's spontaneous. It just happened. They just got so mad that they flew in from all over the country to stage a riot.
Stop it.
Now, the story behind this riot, the one you're seeing on TV, is that a guy called Tortuguita, apparently an Antifa environmentalist, a person who uses they, it as pronouns, decided to shoot a state trooper in Georgia, and then the cops shot back and killed it in response. So that's the story they're telling to explain the riots. It doesn't make a lot of sense, actually, but everyone in the media is running.
Sound familiar?
CNN included, and especially. CNN, in fact, turned to a freelance reporter called David Peisner to explain exactly what happened this weekend in Atlanta. Watch this.
There's a real blurring of the lines in the use of the word violence. Is property destruction violence? To some people, it certainly is. But this idea that breaking windows or other acts of property destruction are the same as actual violence against humans it's kind of a dangerous and slippery concept. And you keep using these words, violent.
Pay attention. Violent radicalization. Hold on. My man's heard on something. Violent radicalization. Violent radicalization. The term violent radicalization means the process of adopting or promoting an extremist belief system for the purpose of facilitating ideologically based violence to advance political, religious, or social change. This is how they're redefining these words. I keep telling y'all the ministry of truth is being established right in our faces through lamestream media. Violent radicalization. We are being violently radicalized. Let's go.
Or the only acts of violence against people that I saw were actually police tackling protesters.
Why does every neoliberal talk like a sociology professor at a community college? Ever notice that? So that's David Peisner, identified by CNN as a freelance journalist, explaining that actually it's not really violence because it's against property. So when they burn your house down, it's not violence.
That's not violence.
It's not violence. It's always the same script. Remember when Ali Velshi stood in front of a burning police station in Minneapolis and told you the protests were, quote, not generally speaking unruly, except for, of course, the torch police station right behind it. When CNN told us the riots in Kenosha were fiery but mostly peaceful. Meanwhile, people were being killed.
Left and right getting a goofy smacked off.
They're even lazier and more corrupt. That freelance reporter, David Peisner, you just saw on CNN, is not actually a reporter. He's a professional Antifa apologist. He is a fellow traveler for Antifa. And we're not just guessing at that. This week, he went on Twitter to raise money for Antifa, including a GoFundMe for Tortuguita, the attempted cop killer with the confusing pronouns. That's the guy CNN is calling a reporter, freelance reporter. So the question is not, is CNN dishonest? Oh, they'll say anything. The question is why there's
Fox ain't no better, Talker.
Of dishonesty. Why the same people who warned you about right-wing extremists walking around the Capitol running cover for domestic terrorism in the city they're based in? Keep in mind, this is CNN saying this, and it was CNN whose headquarters, its world headquarters, CNN Center in Atlanta, was destroyed by Antifa in May of 2020 after St. George Floyd died. Remember that? In case you don't, here's the tape.
This is terrible. All this over old dope fiend ass dude.
So that day in May of 2020, Antifa actually got inside CNN Center. They smashed through the windows, went right in. So if you're CNN, you'd say, well, look, we're going to have to put Antifa on the do not promote list. We just can't run cover for the people who smashed the windows of our world headquarters. But they are. They're doing it anyway. Why are they doing that? Because CNN is not actually on the left. They have no ideology or beliefs. CNN is above all and always foursquare on the people in charge. Always. That's who they run cover for. So they're not actually defending Antifa. They're defending the people who benefit from Antifa. And that's the Democratic Party. And in case you doubt the connection, consider Representative Catherine Clark of Massachusetts, she, her. Catherine Clark is one of the most senior Democrats in the House of Representatives. In fact, she's the minority whip. She's the one who was so worried about climate change. Remember, she told you that her kids are having nightmares about it? Stop her from buying a $1 million oceanfront.
This chick.
So, Catherine.
Let me stop him right there real quick. All right. Now, I got a lot of respect for Tucker Carlson, man. Right? He's the last, and trust me, he's one of the last of a dying breed of proper journalists, although Tucker knows how far to go. Tucker doesn't push the envelope too far. He toes the line to an extent as well. See, he works for Fox. And y'all know how many times Fox News have been proven to lie, flat out lie, over and over again. So the same people that run and operate CNN is the same people that run and operate Fox. Don't make no mistake about that, y'all. And I say that so y'all can keep in mind and perspective when it comes to guys like Tucker Carlson, who is a proper journalist and asks certain questions, challenging questions, and has certain people on that you normally wouldn't see on media outlets, mainstream media outlets, but Tucker doesn't go too far. And you would have to be a real live journalist to be able to see that. In this journey of this journal, I'm a journalist. I, being an actual journalist, independent journalist, can see right through Tucker. But I give respect and credit where it's due. Because Fox News ain't no more better or worse than CNN. Especially when at the end of the day, they all owned by the same people anyway. So don't make no mistake about it. Just like CNN is speaking for the interest of their owners, so is Fox. Don't make no mistake about that. Right? Let's go.
Catherine Clark's own son, Jared Dowell, was rioting along with Antifa in Boston on Saturday night.
Wow.
Vandalizing a monument on Boston Common when police tried to arrest him. Jared Dowell and other protesters then assaulted the police, causing the specific officer to bleed from the nose and mouth. Oh, that was her son. So Catherine Clark was forced to issue a statement about this, of course. By the way, stop talking about her personal life. If you knew what the personal lives of the people who run the Democratic Party are actually like, you would understand their politics much better. So Catherine Clark issues a statement and refers to her son as her, quote, daughter. Of course. And wrote that, quote, this is a very difficult time in the cycle of joy and pain in parenting. It's just, part of the cycle where your adult son pretends to be a woman and attacks police officers. Totally normal. It's just part of the cycle of parenting. Yeah. Again, if you knew the details of their personal lives, you would understand their politics. This is the party of weak men and unhappy women.
Facts.
But what you have in effect here is the official endorsement of domestic terrorism from the highest level of the Democratic Party. And why wouldn't you? Again, this is their militia. These are their state-sanctioned shock troops. They are.
Now, y'all hear what Tucker just said, right? This is why I rock with Tucker to a certain extent. Notice he just say shock troops. Right? Shout out to my brother Red Supreme TV1. Y'all know this on Red's platform. Y'all done heard me use the term shock troops many times before. Right? Yeah. Shock troops. Shock and awe. How many are familiar with the strategy called shock and awe? Y'all better get y'all research out, man. Let's go.
Effectively immune from criticism. So you go to jail for owning a 10-round magazine, but they get to do whatever they want. Merrick Garland and Christopher Wray, who runs the FBI, are making certain that every last January 6th defendant spends years in jail. Their lives are destroyed on the no-fly list. And yet Antifa terrorists get released almost as soon as they're arrested. This weekend in Atlanta, the police arrested the 22-year-old son of a surgeon in Kennebunkport, Maine, called Francis Carroll. Now, in case you're wondering who these people are, well, they come from the key Democratic demographic, which, of course, is not people of color, working people. That's
not at all.
The key Democratic demographic is upscale professionals and their lunatic children. So this kid grew up in a $2 million mansion, pictures of him on his father's yacht. He was arrested on domestic terrorism charges a month ago in Atlanta. He assaulted police officers and terrorized residents. Is he still there? No. He got out of jail immediately. So then apparently he went again to an Antifa riot. This weekend in Atlanta, police say Carroll went out and
professional rabble rousers.
Arson. So why does this kid, the rich kid, get off when the people who showed up at the Capitol, consistent with their constitutional rights to complain about what really did seem like fraud in the 2020 election?
No, that was fraud all day.
Have you ever checked the percentage of January 6th defendants who've experienced a personal bankruptcy? Much higher than average. These were actual working class people, deeply frustrated, completely out of options, and unheard by everyone in Washington. It's not an excuse for the vandalism some of them committed, but it tells you it's a very different group of people. They didn't go to Middlebury or some other liberal arts madrasa. They're actual working people. But they're in jail, and the rich kids are out. Is anyone going to ask Merrick Garland to explain that?
It's crazy, man.
Is anyone going to ask what Antifa is? Who leads this group? How many more riots do they have to lead before the New York Times gets interested and does a 5-part series on what is this? Who are these people? Who pays for this?
Who pays for it?
At night? What's their background? Give us some news on Antifa. They're the biggest armed militia in the United States, and we know nothing about them. Why?
Oh, yes, we do.
They're aligned with the Democratic Party.
And why is that?
The real threat is rural voters with AR-15s, assault weapons. You must disarm Republican voters. No thanks. Disarm? Why don't you go ahead and disband Antifa? Go full RICO on them. Let's find out who their leaders are. Let's see them in jail.
And this is why I say what I say about Tucker Carlson, y'all. Right? Look at what he just said. I wonder if y'all caught it. Right? This is why I say y'all gotta use your higher thinking. You gotta use your critical thinking, man, which is slowly but surely being grafted out of the human psyche and thought process. Right? Did y'all pay attention? Did y'all catch what Tucker just said? Right? I'm gonna rewind it.
Then maybe you can tackle street crime and then pay a little bit of attention to the drug cartels. It really did seem like fraud in the 20s. What is this? Who are these people? Who pays for this? Where do they stay at night? What's their background? Give us some news on Antifa. They're the biggest armed militia in the United States, and we know nothing about them. Why? Because they're aligned with the Democratic Party. But they're telling you the real threat is rural voters with AR-15s, assault weapons. You must disarm Republican voters. No thanks. Disarm? Why don't you go ahead and disband Antifa? Go full RICO on them. Let's find out who their leaders are. Let's see them in jail. Then maybe you can tackle street crime and then pay a little bit of attention to the drug cartels that control the southwestern United States. And then maybe at that point, you'll convince some people to register their AR-15s. But until you do that, up yours.
This dude Tucker Carlson, man.
But they're telling you the real threat is rural voters with AR-15s, assault weapons. You must demographic. They're lunatic children. So this kid grew up in a $2 million mansion. He's still there? No. He got out of jail immediately. So then apparently he went again to an Antifa riot. This weekend in Atlanta, police say Carroll went out and committed some more domestic terrorism, including arson. So why does this kid, the rich kid, get off when the people who showed up at the Capitol, consistent with their constitutional rights to complain about what really did seem like fraud in the 2020 election, they went to jail? Well, have you ever checked the percentage of January 6th defendants who've experienced a personal bankruptcy? Much higher than average. These were actual working class people, deeply frustrated, completely out of options, and unheard by everyone in Washington. It's not an excuse for the vandalism some of them committed, but it tells you it's a very different group of people. They didn't go to Middlebury or some other liberal arts madrasa. They're actual working people. But they're in jail, and the rich kids are out. Is anyone going to ask Merrick Garland to explain that? Is anyone going to ask what Antifa is? Who leads this group? How many more riots do they have to lead before the New York Times gets interested and does a 5-part series on what is this? Who are these people? Who pays for this?
Did y'all catch that?
Where do they stay at night? What's their background? Give us some news on Antifa. They're the biggest armed militia in the United States, and we know nothing about them. Why? Because they're aligned with the Democratic Party. telling you the real threat is rural voters with AR-15s, assault weapons. You must disarm Republican voters. No thanks. Disarm? Why don't you go ahead and disband Antifa? Go full RICO on them. Let's find out who their leaders are. Let's see them in jail.
Did y'all catch that? Let's find out who their leaders are, as if it's so difficult to find out. And this is what I say about guys like Tucker Carlson. I'm not going to sit up here and accept that Tucker Carlson doesn't know who the leaders of Antifa are. Not these, oh my God, not these little rich kids who are the offspring of Democratic political pundits and contributors, and some of them politicians, businessmen and women, right? I'm not going to sit up here and be naive and think that Tucker doesn't know who is really behind Antifa, right? I'm not that naive. You did? Not even a little bit. You understand? Hold on, let me trip it, man. Let me pull this up real quick, y'all. Yeah, man. And this is what I be telling y'all, man. Do y'all's due diligence, man. Question everything. You hear me? Question everything that you see on this TV. Everything that you see on this TV coming out of these airways, on the internet, all of that. Even especially the stuff you hear me saying. Look into HR 1955, y'all. I'm not saying that because I'm telling you I'm gonna do it for a reason. HR 1955, in my opinion, has been activated a long time ago. But we're really starting to see it now. We're really starting to see it now, right? Now, who is Antifa? Right? And I done did a whole stream on this. You feel me? What is this? Why is it doing that? Hold on real quick, y'all. Yeah, hold on real quick, y'all. Hold on real quick. But yeah, though, y'all, man, Antifa. I strongly suggest that y'all look into who Antifa is, man. Right? I strongly suggest that y'all go look into this stuff. Right? Oh, come on, man. Hold on real quick, y'all. Well, let me do this right here, too. Let me do this right here. No, I'm gonna keep that up there. I'm gonna keep that up there for y'all. Well, I want y'all to. I'm about to show y'all about these Antifa people, though, right? Y'all hip to Antifa? anti-fascistic action, right? I done did a whole podcast on this, man. Matter of fact, hold on, man. This is what we just gonna do this right here. This is what we gonna do. This is what we gonna do. You know what I'm talking about? We're gonna do this right here. I'm gonna just go ahead and go to my content. You did. We're gonna use our own stuff. You know what I'm talking about? We ain't gotta go through all these changes and stuff, right? You know what I'm talking about? You did. I done did hella. I don't know. I think I done did a podcast about Action, about about Antifa. All right. Let me find a video for y'all real quick. Yeah, we got it right here, man. Hold on, let me find it real quick. Yeah, y'all, man. Antifa been around for a minute, man. If you notice, they came around the same time that Black Lives Matter did. You know what I mean? And like I said, their sister organization, both of them is underneath the Open Society Foundation. You know what I mean? Okay, this one I had a video specifically discussing Antifa. Let me find it real quick. I'm about to find it now. You know what I'm talking about? Matter of fact, we're going to have to do this. Y'all can go ahead and listen to this while I look for it. Oh, man. What's going on with that piff, man? I don't know what the hell going on with that, man. I'm trying to find this video that I did going in on Antifa and all that stuff. It ain't none of that stuff. Yeah, I strongly suggest that y'all go look into Antifa, Black Lives Matter, Open Society Foundation. Right? George Soros. You know what I mean? Oh, I know I did this though, man. Maybe I did a live video on it. You know what I'm talking about? I'm looking through here. Okay, cool, bet. This is what I'm about to do right here. I'm going to go to the lives. Because maybe it was a live video that I did on it. But yeah, we went in on Antifa, Black Lives Matter, all of that stuff. Broke it down. You know what I'm talking about? I'm about to look for it. I'm about to find it for y'all right now. Yeah, YouTube scandalous for that too, man. They ain't letting you keep your live streams, man. They ain't letting you download your live streams no more, man. That's kind of messed up a little bit, man. Oh man, what happened to that damn video, man? Wait, damn, that's crazy. You know, maybe that's one of them joints they might have took down, right? You know what I'm saying? Maybe that's one of them joints they took down. You know what I mean? Because I know I did a video. I don't know if it was a pre-recorded or a live stream discussing Black Lives Matter. You hear me? But yeah, though. Anyway, though, y'all. Anyway, you feel me? Anyway, we ain't gonna worry about that. You know what I'm talking about? Anti-fascist action, right? Yeah, it started off as a German organization, right? And they called themselves Anti-Fascist Action, right? Which means they were a group that was against the anti-fascists over here in Russia and in Germany. You know, and they, of course, funded by George Soros, you know, and now they're being used to push the ideologies of the Democratic Party, the Democratic Party, but also being used, you understand what I'm saying, to push these progressive liberal movements across the world too, specifically, especially in America, under the disguise of social justice, right? And Action, or should I say anti-fascist action, is definitely being used to push these ideologies, right? You know what I'm talking about? Y'all, what I'm doing is I'm trying to find this video, man. I don't know, maybe they took it down. Maybe that's what they did with it. Maybe that's what they did with it, man. You hear me? Yeah, I'm sorry. I know I did a video talking about Action. I think I'll even have their logo for the thumbnail. They must have took that video down. You hear me? They must have took that joint down. You understand me, man? They must have took that joint down. You hear me? And I even recognize it because I know I did a video on it, breaking down Antifa and what they was all about. You know what I'm talking about? Who started them, who funded them, and you know how they get started and all that stuff. Yeah, man. And I don't know what's going on with I don't tell you, the computer been acting crazy lately, y'all, man. Crazy. Computer been acting crazy lately, man. I don't even know why it's doing this. I'm sitting here pressing the Chrome thing and it's sending me to some Yahoo stuff. I don't know what that's all about. You know what I'm talking about? But yeah, though, y'all, man. Antifa. How many of y'all are aware of Antifa? What the hell, man? Like, why I keep doing that? That's starting to really piss me off. Like, what's going on? Why is it doing that? That's crazy to me, man. You know, I normally use Google search engine, but for some reason it's sending me to Yahoo when I click on Google. I don't know what that's all about. I think it's just something wrong. I need to go ahead and give me a new computer, man. You know what I'm talking about? But yeah, though, y'all, man, hit that like button, y'all. Click on the bell, subscribe to the page, man. Listen. You know what I'm saying? HR 1955. You understand what I'm saying? It's being implemented. And what's going on down here in Atlanta, right, is proof that it has been implemented. And now they saying that Antifa, anti-fascist action, right, is responsible, right? So, you know what I mean? We got to think about when it comes to these organizations, like he said, who funds them? George Soros. These questions are easily answerable. But the fact that, you know what I'm saying, when a guy like Tucker Carlson come on and says the stuff he says, you know what I mean? It's kind of like, come on now, you know, you playing with us now. You're assaulting our intelligence. Because to think that Tucker Carlson doesn't know what's going on with Black Lives Matter, Antifa, right? Who the bosses are, how they're being funded, who's funding them. That's like a slap in the face to somebody who has a critical thinking ability. You know, because Tucker Carlson definitely knows. Like, he definitely knows. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, don't make no mistake about it, but Tucker Carlson definitely knows what's going on with organizations like Antifa. Let me just do this. Let me do this. All right. Let me pull this up for y'all. Let me look this up for y'all. Here we go, right here. Oh, they done blocked the video. Ah, man, I'll tell you, they don't want this stuff to get out about these groups, man. They don't want us to find this stuff out, man. Well, I'm telling y'all, the Ministry of Truth, man, the memory hole.
Seit über 100 Jahren gibt es sie, die Antifa. In der Bundesrepublik war sie zunächst friedlich, später dann militant. Doch wer ist sie wirklich?
Oh, man. See how they doing over here on the internet, man? They scrubbing. They don't want us to find this information out, man. Don't want us to find this stuff out, man. They don't want us knowing nothing about what's really going on with these movements. And because when we do that, we're going to find out who funded them, right? And they remove this video from it. That's crazy. Oh, man, that's crazy, man. They don't want us to know, man, right? They don't want nobody to know about these Antifa people that they really, like Tucker said, is being used and being manipulated, controlled, and funded by these so-called progressive, democratic people.
Fear is a part of our tactics. We do want Nazis to be afraid to organize in public. It's our job to go out there and say, no, we're not going to allow you to spread these ideas. Politically, I'm an anarcho-communist and I'm an anti-fascist, and right now I'm focusing a lot on that anti-fascism So what I'm doing here is mixing half part water and half part liquid antacid. It makes something called LAW, or liquid antacid and water. You use it in response to pepper spray. We get a lot of accusations that we're doing this for kicks, that we're doing this because we're violent teens who just want to see violence happen.
I consider myself to be someone who's very fed up with seeing protests that accomplish nothing.
I did a lot of marching and holding signs and yelling in the street and getting permits, and it didn't really feel like I was doing enough.
I was aware that, obviously there's plenty of racists in the country, but I didn't realize that they were organized and political and actively out to cause violence.
Seeing the state of the world and seeing the news and seeing what's going on.
Do y'all hear this, man?
How much
the hypocrisy
people were in made me want to get involved.
The term Antifa is short for anti-fascist, and as many people know, anti-fascism dates back to fascism. So we can see anti-fascists battling Mussolini's black shirts in Italy, standing up to Hitler's Nazis. And today, a lot of anti-fascists draw from the European tradition. And really, it's at the front lines of physically confronting fascist and white supremacist organizing in the United States today.
There is no one organization called the Black Bloc. It's dozens, hundreds, thousands of autonomous organizations all across the country and all across the world.
Violent radicalization, ideologically based violence.
Black Bloc or block is just what we wear. It's entirely black, simple, non-identifying clothing. You don't want to get identified by Nazis, or they're going to try and show up to your house, try and contact your employer, beat you up on the street if they get the chance. So it's important they can't find out who you are. But it's also important that if you're doing something illegal, if you're trying to punch a Nazi, then you don't want police to be able to identify.
Look at, are y'all listening to this?
Police to be able to tell you apart.
Antifa really exploded into the headlines in response to the disruption of the Milo Yiannopoulos event back at UC Berkeley in February, where masked Antifa broke windows and created enough of a disruption for the university to cancel the event. This created a lot of debate around different tactics for opposing the far right and questions around free speech.
Street violence is actually one of the last resorts for anti-fascists. The first line of defense is just finding out who the local Nazis are. People will post online with Nazi flags and post about the marginalized groups they want to kill. And when we find those posts, we save them, we send them to employers, finding ways to disrupt their organizing online, track them down and figure out where they live and try and make sure that they don't feel comfortable. There has been an increase in neo-Nazi organizing since the Trump campaign started, and they've absolutely been more active. The Jeremy Christian killings, the killings in Charlottesville, those are not the acts of individual people. Those are the acts of a political movement. Personally, I'm Jewish, I'm a trans woman, and I'm queer. And those are related. Knowing we have someone in the White House who calls white supremacists a side that has some good people is really frightening. I do feel vulnerable and I do feel scared every day, but that's why I'm in the block.
When you are a queer person or a disabled person or a person of color, you don't get to really step back and say, I don't want to be politically active, because your life and your existence is constantly in dispute.
Now imagine this. We got these.
And go out there with your comrades. Provides.
They don't speak for me. They don't speak for us. Who do these people think they are to tell us that we should be in fear, we should be offended? And if we are people of color or minorities or under the poverty line or whatever it is you identify with, that if we're not somehow speaking out against this stuff in the way that they feel we should be, that the audacity, the nerve.
A feeling of safety that I wouldn't otherwise have. When we appear in the streets, we're trying to stop these people from having proud marches where they can recruit and say it's safe to be a fascist. And we want to go out and say, no, you can't do this. We're going to fight back.
You always end up becoming that which you fight against.
Antifa knew before the Trump rally in Philadelphia that it was not just a Trump rally. That American vanguard who desecrated a Holocaust memorial with anti-Semitic messages were going to be there with weighted motorcycle gloves trying to beat people up.
One common tactic that you'll see being used is we will have people who are actually at home that are coordinating with the action, and they'll be checking Twitter and whatever.
Violent radicalization, y'all.
In order to be communicating information to us via encrypted messaging.
Only cowards operate in secrecy.
It's important that we don't give the state a monopoly on violence. The police are part of the executive branch. The police serve Trump, who's a fascist. Police violence is no more justified than anti-fascist violence.
Who do you protect? Who do you serve? Who do you protect? Who do you serve?
Two common tactics employed by cops are snatching individual people and stragglers, and then kettling or like surrounding the whole group. Cops will kettle protesters and then arrest them for failing to disperse. Always be looking for side streets, always be looking for exits. Always make sure you stay moving.
You'll hear people shouting "tighten up" all the time, and that means that you have to stay together as one cohesive body.
The most violent people at any protest are the police.
Don't it sound like they spread propaganda?
The police are the ones there with batons, beating people up, throwing them to the ground, pepper spraying them. I've gone home with bruises. I've had friends go home with broken arms, dislodged eyeballs, brain trauma.
A nonviolent resistance really works when it can leverage the public opinion to pressure oppressive regimes or leaders to change what they're doing.
Did y'all pay attention to what he just said?
Bruises.
Pay attention to what this guy about to say.
Arms, dislodged eyeballs, brain trauma.
A nonviolent resistance really works when it can leverage the public opinion to pressure oppressive regimes or leaders to change what they're doing.
Did y'all hear that? I'm gonna play it one more time.
The most violent people at any protest are the police. The police are the ones there with batons, beating people up, throwing them to the ground, pepper spraying them. I've gone home with bruises. I've had friends go home with broken arms, dislodged eyeballs, brain trauma.
A nonviolent resistance really works when it can leverage the public opinion to pressure oppressive regimes or leaders to change what they're doing. The question is, when it's fascism, when there is no room for public opinion to influence the decisions made by government, made by leaders, is that a viable option?
You have to stay together as one cohesive body.
The test are the police.
Pay attention to what this dude says, man.
There with batons, beating people up, throwing them to the ground, pepper spraying them. I've gone home with bruises. I've had friends go home with broken arms, dislodged eyeballs, brain trauma.
A nonviolent resistance really works when it can leverage the public opinion to pressure oppressive regimes or leaders to change what they're doing.
Stop right there. Right? Now, do y'all recall, right? Y'all recall, right, when I just was reading to y'all what it says in HR 1955, right? Right? Can y'all see this? Violent radicalization. The term violent radicalization means the process of adopting or promoting an extremist belief system for the purpose of facilitating ideologically based violence to advance political, religious, or social change. What is ideologically based violence? The term ideologically based violence means the use, planned use, or threatened use of force or violence by a group or individual to promote the group's or individual's political, religious, or social beliefs. Right? Now, pay attention, y'all. Tap in and walk with me. Pay attention. Connect the dots. Ideological or homegrown terrorism. The term homegrown terrorism means the use, planned use, or threatened use of force or violence by a group or individual born, raised, or based and operating primarily within the United States or any possession of the United States to intimidate or coerce the United States government, the civilian population of the United States, or any segment thereof in furtherance of political or social objectives. Right? Let's go back to what he just said.
I've gone home with bruises. I've had friends go home with broken arms, dislodged eyeballs, brain trauma.
A nonviolent resistance really works when it can leverage the public opinion to pressure oppressive regimes or leaders to change what they're doing. The question is,
y'all hear that?
Can leverage the public
for spraying them. I've gone home with bruises. I've had friends go home with broken arms, dislodged eyeballs, brain trauma.
A nonviolent resistance really works when it can leverage the public opinion to pressure oppressive regimes or leaders to change what they're doing.
Key word is nonviolent. Tap in and walk with me, y'all. Key word is nonviolent. Nonviolent protest. This is why they came up with the term ideologically based violence. Tap in and walk with me, y'all. This is why this legislation was created. Right? Violent radicalization. And this is why they worded the legislation like this, because like I say, when you hear certain words, you automatically associate them with other words, right? So when we look at this definition right here of ideologically based violence, right? It means the use, planned use, or threatened use of force or violence. Doesn't say violent force. It doesn't say forceful violence, right? It says force or violence. So the word or, like I always say when I break this down to y'all, it's a separation. It's a division. This is letting you know that force and violence is not the same thing. And this is why they convoluted the language of this like this, because they know when you hear force or violence, you automatically associate the two. So when you hear the word force or violence, you automatically thinking something physical, not understanding or knowing that a definition of force is mental strength, when they got nothing to do with your physicality. And this is how they switching up the language on us, y'all. So when you think about non-violent protest, well, you got to think about, well, what's violence? What's considered to be violence, right? What is considered to be violence? Ideologically based violence. Which means the use, planned use, threatened use of force or violence. So you don't even have to physically use violence. You don't even have to use violence in order to be force, or in order for it to be considered violence. Because when you think of violence, you're not thinking of mental violence. You're not thinking of ideologically based violence. You're thinking of physical violence. Oh, but this is talking about the violence of your thoughts. This legislation with H.R. 1955, the Violent Radicalization and Homegrown Terrorism Prevention Act. It doesn't say the non-violence radicalization. It says the violent, not the non-violent, right? But look, see, when you think about what non-violence is, what you think of when you think of the term non-violent protest, we got to think about what violence means. And according to the Congress and the Senate, or according to Congress, Congress thinks that violence is ideologically based. Do y'all understand what I'm saying to y'all right now? Do y'all understand what I'm saying to y'all right now, man? Put a 1 in the chat if you're tapping in. Put a 1 in the chat if y'all walking with me, man. I don't want to be losing anybody or nothing like that. I want to make sure we all on one accord with each other, man. You know what I'm saying? Y'all see it scrolling across the screen, man. You know what I'm talking about? Now think about this, man, in regards to what's going on in Atlanta and what's going to be going on in other cities too. I heard it was just another mass shooting in LA. Or okay, let me take that back. Not LA, but in California. Look at all these shootings, y'all. I'm just challenging y'all to think critically about this. Y'all cannot be, or I know that all of us have been have allowed our psyches to be so crushed and manipulated by this reality that we really aren't in tune to what's actually going on. We're really going to believe and accept the stuff that we hearing through this mainstream media, right? I know we're not just about to sit here and accept that shooting after shooting after shooting is a random happenstance of unsequential events. I got enough faith still left in us as human beings and men. I got enough faithfulness that we're not so not gonna say we're not so, because clearly we've been duped, but we're not going to continue with perpetuously going to continue to keep being like this. Like I said, question everything, especially what you hear me say. I'm not naive enough to think that all of this stuff that's happened with all these shootings, I'm not going to be arrogant to ever accept that this is all by happenstance. This is just a series of random events that's just happening because of messed up policy. Right? And when it comes to a group like Antifa, who calls themselves anti-fascist while being very much identical to the very fascism they claim to be fighting against, they're the anti-fascist fascist. They display the exact same behavior and action and ideology of those who they claim are doing the same against them. Wherever Antifa go, there's violence, physical violence, destruction of property, as we've seen in Atlanta. They caught the goddamn, y'all seen it, man. They catching cop cars on fire, tearing stuff up. They done ran up and chase. We probably would have never heard about this if they wasn't being rabble-rousing to the point they started going at the banks. But see, Antifa is controlled by George Soros. George Soros has his hand up the arse of the Democratic Party. George Soros literally controls the Democratic Party. Everybody who is a member of the Democratic Party, and I'm not excusing the Republicans, they ain't no better. But the Democratic Party is bringing in all these draconian laws and legislation, right? And I don't adhere to the two-party system. I think it's going down like everything else, like every other thing in this reality that's being exposed and getting crushed from the foundation up. It's a wrap, man. Right? But the Democratic Party has allowed itself to become basically the whore of the so-called Schmeat Schmate. Huh? The sleep slate. Yeah. Like I told y'all, Antifa is the military arm of Black Lives Matter, and Black Lives Matter is the propaganda arm of Antifa. All funded, founded, created by George Soros. Right? So when Tucker asked the question, who's funding Antifa, Tucker, it's a simple question or answer. George Soros. Antifa, or Anti-Fascist Action, is one of the global groups under the disguise of fighting so-called fascism when their very ideology is based off of fascism. It's being founded and funded by George Soros through his Open Society Foundation networks, or his Open Society network of foundations. Go look into who George Soros is and how many organizations, think tank, global forum organizations that he is the funder of. The boy was worth billions. He worth like, I think George Soros is worth like 12 billion, between 6 and 12 billion. Y'all research into who George Soros, George Schwartz, Alicia Garza, one of the 3 so-called founding members of Black Lives Matter. Her real name is Alicia Garza Schwartz. I'm going to repeat that for y'all. George Soros, who is the founder and funder of the Open Society network of foundations. Just to name a few: Action, or Anti-Fascist Action, or Antifa, Black Lives Matter, Occupy Wall Street, all organizations funded and founded by George Soros through the Open Society Network Foundation system. Right? Black Lives Matter is the propaganda arm of Antifa, and Antifa is the military arm of Black Lives Matter. George Soros, right, who's an agent of the infamous Rothschild family, right? And is responsible for the crashing of the European pound note, which led them into going to the European Union that they allegedly seem to be out of, but not really. Yeah, that George Soros, Tucker, he's the one who funds Black Lives Matter. He's the one who funds Antifa. It don't take a rocket scientist to figure this stuff out, man. This is why I say when it comes to guys like Tucker Carlson, he's a proper journalist in that, he does his job and he does it to some modicum of responsibility and dignity. But at the end of the day, I beg to differ that a guy who can have this much intelligence and seemingly smarts about him don't know this. Asks the questions, who funds Antifa, when he can merely find it out. And this is what I say, y'all. Question everything. Don't be putting nobody up on no pedestal, man. Like I say, man, I got a lot of respect for Tucker Carlson, man. He's a 90% proper journalist, one of very few left, but he know how far to go. And he knows how far to not go. He break things down, and he ain't going to break it down like this. Asking that goofy, corny ball, novice ass of an investigator or journalistic viewpoint having person who funds Antifa, as if nobody knows, as if it's some information that's not out in the public domain. So you just have to have the critical thinking ability to be able to connect the dots. Which, sad to say, most of these so-called mainstream media, fake-ass journalists got the nerve they call themselves journalists. They ain't nothing but talking heads for the big six. Pause. This is why it is up to us to come and do what we are doing. Right? I'm about to do the mic like this because it's easier like this without it being all in my face and stuff. I can just, right? I can just do that, and I ain't gotta use the screen, and it's catching all the sound. We crispy. We right there. You know what I mean? Boom. And y'all can still hear me, right? Y'all still hear me loud and clear, right? You did. You know what I'm saying? And I ain't even gotta have this on because it's up there, and I ain't. But yeah, though, y'all, man, we cannot allow ourselves to continue to be so easily misled and drawn in through our emotions, right? I want y'all to go look at HR 1955. I want y'all to familiarize yourselves on what it is and read the legislation. Ooh, I'm about to do something real raw, man. I'm about to do something real raw. Right? I want y'all to familiarize yourself with this legislation, man. Right? And I'm going to put something together real special for y'all. Right? Because we got to start interacting with each other again, man. We done been tricked through the present situation, or through the, the situation we just went through a year or so ago, man. We all was on that old lockdown, you know what I'm talking about? Fake lockdown. That has had a severe impact on our collective psyche. We got to start physically interacting with each other again. That's how our immune systems improve and get better, by coming in contact with other contagions and pathogens and bacteria and viruses. Right? I know that sounds crazy, but hey, man, how's the immune system going to develop if it doesn't have any challenges? If all you doing is putting on hand sanitizer all day, how's your body going to be able to tell when you're coming into contact with anything? You're constantly blocked in your receptors on your fingertips. right? You're basically blocking your immune system off from being able to detect whatever it could be, because you got this ointment that leaves a real thick residue, right? That blocks your immune system from being able to, you know, pick up the specific and certain messages it needs to fulfill certain operations and duties within your body. As if all bacteria is bad for us. Y'all do know it's some good bacteria that we actually need to come in contact with. Y'all know that, right? Yeah, man. It's crazy, man. Antifa. I want y'all to look into HR 1955, though. I'm going to put something together real special for y'all, too. You know what I'm saying? I've been writing it out and just figure out exactly how I'm going to do it. And not only that, figuring out how I'm going to fit that into a regular time frame for y'all, too. That makes sense for me, because it got to make sense for my schedule first, and then I can make it make sense for y'all. You know what I'm saying? But, yeah, we about to get these seminars going, man. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of people don't know about this. I have conversations. I get conversations sparked at the gym discussing this, and this is it never ceases to amaze me, man. It just never ceases to amaze me how when I go to the gym every single day, and I could literally have a conversation about this, and nobody, I'm talking about doctors, lawyers, CEOs, very, very men of status and stature that I come into contact with at the gym who have no clue about HR 1955, man. You hear me? And I'm about to put something together real beautiful, man. It's going to be a beautiful situation, man. You know what I mean? I want y'all to support it. You know what I mean? And we're going to get it going, man. For real. But make no mistake about what's going on. This is the reason why I titled the title of the show, the title that I titled it, right? Ideologically based violence, right? These people who call themselves Antifa or anti-fascist and the anti-fascist action, right? In their efforts to speak out and so-called fight against fascism, they display the very exact same behavior, ideology of the very fascist system they claim is oppressing all of us. Not only that, but these organizations are funded by the very same system. Everywhere Antifa goes, they're rioting, destroying property, causing harm to the local government structure and society of that area, whatever city they go to, all across the world. They have no known leadership or hierarchy. They operate in secrecy, openly. They cover their faces up. They're so seemingly anonymous. Are we believing that this dude who they was interviewing is a so-called leader of Antifa? So it's a good question that Tucker asks, who funds them? Because that's where it all is going to get you your answers, is who is funding the situation. Follow the money. Shout out to Lester Freeman. Shout out to the big homie Lester Freeman from The Wire, man. Right? Follow that money, man. That's where you're going to find out what you want to find out when you follow that bread. You hear me? And the key thing I always ask or say to y'all or tell y'all that y'all need to ask in these situations is cui bono? Who benefits? Who benefit from what's happening in Atlanta right now as a result of this so-called clash with the local policing agency and so-called Antifa? I wasn't aware that Antifa's headquarters was in Atlanta. Who would it do? Who would have thunk it? Not me, right? I want y'all to be able to start connecting the dots, man. It's getting very serious out here, man. And the only reason why I'll be talking about this stuff the way I talk about it and the way I do is because, y'all, it's getting dangerous, man. And knowing is half the battle. And we getting at a crucial time where the men amongst us especially, we're going to have to draw lines in the sand. We're going to have to stick our chest out. And at the end of the day, this ain't got nothing to do with race. Although race will be used as a deciding and determining factor if you will be deemed guilty of spreading ideologically based violence, violently radicalizing people, or if you may in fact be a homegrown terrorist. You're not going to be excluded for being guilty of spreading ideologically based violence just because you white. You're not going to be not guilty of spreading ideologically based violence just because you're a Christian. Matter of fact, you may be considered spreading ideologically based violence if you are a Christian. See the flip right there, y'all? See the mind effery, huh? And this is a so-called Christian nation, and they just passed legislation that says that if you try to advocate for your religious beliefs in an effort to coerce or challenge the government, basically, you will be considered spreading ideologically based violence, violently radicalizing people, and you will be deemed a homegrown terrorist. I've been telling y'all, religious people, they coming for y'all. They're coming for all of us. And the fact about it is we're being made to go against each other, not realizing that they're coming for all of us. See, a lot of y'all will be led to believe that they're coming for the black people and the black people and the black this and the black community, man. The black community is dead, y'all. Ain't no saving it. It's a wrap. It's over. Give it up. You got to build something new. That so-called black community that doesn't exist, right? It has become so corrupt, so rotten to the very core that it must be destroyed and something new built. We got to, in order to build, we got to destroy. Build and destroy, build and destroy, build and destroy. That's gonna be the name of one of the new joints, man. You hear me? If my man, hey, L, if you watching, or Glitch, if you watching, that's gonna be one of the songs off of that new joint, off of that manipulation, build and destroy. Man, listen, y'all, man. Y'all better realize what's going on out here, man. Y'all hear me? We are being, look what they just did in Illinois with this Safety Act. Do y'all realize that in the state of Illinois right now, it's guys catching bodies that ain't going to have to go back to court for that shit? It's going to be let out on an OR bond. Huh? My Lord, man. My Lord, man. And I'm sitting up here telling y'all, it's about to get a lot worse. And so when we look at what's going on in Atlanta and the involvement in Antifa, I mean, it's so obvious. And it's very, and this is why I don't say it's dangerous, because you got goofy ass groups like Antifa, wherever they go, they just causing havoc. You don't be scared of them, right? I'm not saying be scared of anybody, but the situation is getting very dangerous and spooky and scary when you realize what the agenda is and who's behind the agenda. While we've been made to think that we are so-called fighting for our rights or whatever like that, as if we got to fight for our rights. The very same people who tell us that we have the right to fight for our rights are creating the environments to where even when we do that, we display the behavior, right, that goes against the very legislation that it is that we're being told we need to follow. Freedom of speech, freedom to assembly. Notice how it's the free speech zones in different countries, especially like DC. They got the free speech zones. I just be wanting y'all to be up on game, man, and look at this stuff from different angles. That's it, man. I ain't the smartest man in the world. I ain't got everything figured out, man, but I do got this stuff figured out, man. I see this stuff. I see this stuff from so many different angles and from so far away. Soon as I seen what's going on and read about and heard about what's going on in the A, I said, this is HR 1955 type stuff, man. And this is why I want to keep continuously talking about this, man. We seeing it so prevalent and I want y'all to understand how severe this is. Do y'all understand what HR 1955 is saying, man? Let me read some of these findings to y'all, right? So as a result of coming up with the definitions for violent radicalization, homegrown terrorism, and ideologically based violence, these are some of the findings. Congress has found the following. Let me read some of these to y'all. So the promotion of violent radicalization, homegrown terrorism, and ideologically based violence exists in the United States and poses a threat to homeland security. Right? The internet has aided in facilitating violent radicalization, ideologically based violence, and homegrown terrorism process in the United States by providing access to broad and constant streams of terrorist-related propaganda. Do y'all understand what's going on with this legislation? No, this is why I go so hard with this legislation. This is the establishing of the Ministry of Truth. Through this legislation passed what 16 years ago now? And this is law. This is how they setting up the hexagonal tetragrammaton the hexagonal tetragrammaton luciferic structure. This is a direct result of that. With this legislation right here. This legislation, do y'all understand what I'm reading to y'all, man? That's what I'm saying. I'm about to start doing these seminars, man. This is crazy. Listen here. Understanding the motivational factors that lead to violent radicalization. Let me slow this damn thing down, y'all, right? Because I'm getting a little excited and ahead of myself. Let me slow this thing down and read this. This is the most disturbing piece of this entire legislation is this sentence right here. You hear me? Listen what I'm about to read to y'all. While the United States, hold on. Understanding, this is finding number 5. Understanding the motivational factors that lead to violent radicalization, homegrown terrorism, and ideologically based violence is a vital step toward eradicating these threats in the United States. That is the most disturbing line out of this whole legislation. I think it's like 33 pages. Oh, and I've read the entire legislation. They got a whole committee set up, a tribunal set up. They got who's to be appointed to it for how long. They got this whole thing set up. They got this whole thing set up. Think about that scene from Dark Knight Rises when was holding court. You hear me? When they was holding court in Gotham, when Bane and all them took over Gotham. Right? Listen, y'all. I'm going to read that again. This is number 5. Understanding the motivational factors that lead to violent radicalization, homegrown terrorism, and ideologically based violence is a vital step toward eradicating these threats, in the United States. Do y'all understand what it means to eradicate something? And they want to eradicate you for using, planning to use, or threatening to use your mental or moral strength to challenge anything that the government says, basically. And, man, and this is why I'm about to start having these seminars, man, because this is getting crucial out here, y'all. They already got the Safety Act passed up here in Illinois. Right? We got constant active shooters and massive shootings all across the country. We got these crazy gang guys in the various violent cities like Chicago, New York, LA, Atlanta. Right? Ideologically based violence, violent radicalization, homegrown terrorism. Look what's going on with Young Thug out of Atlanta. I want y'all to understand how in every aspect of what's going on in our society now, HR 1955 could be used as a huge governing body, a huge tribunal situation to try everybody on the same level as a homegrown terrorist. So anything now that goes against the policy is considered terrorism. Ah, man, y'all ain't feeling it, man. Y'all don't get it. It's going over y'all's head. No insulting to nobody's intelligence, but I know this because I have conversations with y'all. I am in contact and in concert with very critical thinking and intellectual and very intelligent people, but for some reason, until I put it together for them, it don't click. The neurons aren't firing. The synapses ain't connecting. But it's all good. So be lookout on a seminar near you. I don't want to do it via Zoom or Ring Central or Yahoo or Microsoft, whatever that stuff is. Nah, man. We got to start physically linking up with each other. We got to start physically interacting with each other. We've been made to digitally, holographically, electronically communicate and interact, cutting us off from being in physical contact with each other. So for one, which is conducive for a more stronger bond, and two, to get a real full view and over inner outer understanding that of a person who you interact with. You did? We're about to get up out of here, man. Appreciate everybody coming out, man. Oh, y'all know this ain't the last time we're gonna talk about this, man. Y'all know it. It's gonna be a recurring thing because it's gonna keep happening. It's gonna keep happening. I'm seeing every day that HR 1955 has been implemented. They just ain't came out and say it. Oh, but it has been activated for sure. And you got to have a critical thinking mind, which is the mind of the Most High, bestowed upon you to be able to see this stuff. This ain't me bragging about it. I'm a regular guy. I'm just as broke as y'all. You hear me? Thank y'all for tapping in, man. You know what I mean? We're going to get this going over here on A Real Talk Podclass, man. You know what I'm saying? I think tomorrow the regular page is going to be off of the restriction that I got from the strike that I got, right? For so-called allegedly saying something contrary about Schmoment Schmite team. when we was talking about the hatchery situation, but you know, that's the machine for you right there, man. You know what I'm saying? So I don't put nothing past it. I don't get sad. I don't get upset or none of that. It is what it is, man. We just gonna keep doing what we do over here, man. You hear me? You know what I mean? I appreciate everybody coming out. Listen here. I'm gonna put something so beautiful together. Y'all gotta support it though, man. It's dire. It's hella critical and crucial that now more than ever we familiarize ourselves with HR 1955, y'all, because I'm telling y'all, it has been implemented and activated. And it's called the Violent Radicalization and Homegrown Terrorism Prevention Act. The question is, who are the terrorists? Right? Who are the terrorists, y'all? Because according to this legislation, right, the term homegrown terrorism means the use, planned use, or threatened use of force or violence by a group or individual born, raised, or based and operating primarily within the United States or any possession of the United States, which is what? The Virgin Islands, some islands out there, Puerto Rico, you know, Hawaii, you know. So they're mainly talking about anything going on within the contiguous 48. So basically they're talking about us. It is us, the so-called proletariat of the United States of America. We're the targets for this legislation. Our own government has deemed us, all of us, to be homegrown terrorists. And this is why I tell y'all to read these words, man, and do y'all's etymology, man. You know what I'm saying? We're going to get up out of here, man. I appreciate everybody coming out, man. You know, I love talking about this too, man, because it's so ill and it's so easy to just expose, and so you can see it for your own eyes. You just have to have the eyes to see it. And once you see something, you can't unsee it. Once you hear something, you can't unhear it. You know what I'm talking about? That stuff be burnt and etched into your psyche. You hear me? To the fabric fibers of your psyche. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah, man. Thank y'all for coming out, man. You know what I'm saying? I appreciate it, man. I really do, man. Y'all don't even know, man. I really do appreciate y'all when y'all come out, show the support, tap in, walk with us. You know what I'm saying? Walk with me. Whether it be me and A or me on my pops, man. I appreciate that, man. You hear me? Don't ever get it messed up, man. Love y'all who tap in and walk with me, man. Even if I don't know you, I never met you. You dig? It's a beautiful thing, man. We're going to keep grinding and growing, like my man Rest for TV1 say. You know what I'm saying? We're going to keep it going. I think I got a strong feeling that the strike thing is going to be lifted tomorrow, so we're going to be able to go live on the regular situation tomorrow. I'm going to figure it out for y'all either way it go. You dig? Either way it go, we're going to get to it. Ain't nothing to it but the to it. You understand? We're going to get straight to it. You know what I'm saying? No games whatsoever, man. Y'all enjoy y'all evening, man. I'm trying to get this music for y'all. You know what I'm talking about? Because y'all know this been acting crazy here lately. Let's see what's going on now. For what now, man? About to see if everything tight now. Should it be? And it's not. I don't know what's going on, man. Hold on, man. I can play a song for y'all off of my phone, though. Because we definitely going to leave with some music. You did. Definitely going to leave y'all out with a nice tune from the E&E situation. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah, we got it right here. We ain't gonna never trip about that, man. One monkey ain't never stopped no show. You did. Right. The Ministry of Truth is being established on YouTube, y'all. You hear me? And they using YouTube like a double-edged sword. You know what I'm talking about? And we gotta be able to see through the effery and the BS. You know what I'm talking about? And we surrounded by these type of guys, man. We surrounded by fake woke niggas, man. Tap in with us tomorrow night. We're going in 7 p.m. tomorrow. Ladies' night. We're going to be discussing what those sassy, saucy Santana said, man.
Alarm clock, wake 'em up, time to wake 'em up. Niggas be surrounding me daily, so I dance around them like my name was Alvin Ailey. Fake broke niggas be surrounding me daily. Alarm clock, wake 'em up, time to wake 'em up. I gotta set the alarm, wake you up from the slumber. Floyd and Harry, fake woke niggas, y'all dumping dumbass niggas. Drop jewels, but people don't pay any attention. Let's see immediately, be the wake 'em up henchmen. A lot of times these woke niggas be really sleep. Shit, the price on a nigga's life is extra real cheap. Only the real from my niggas, we all elite. We made a living eating these rappers, nigga, bon appetit. Yeah. Pause. Me and my brethren be down for the cause. We gotta come together and tear down all these walls. In illusory fault lines like racism, and bring light to the woke, just like the Baptist. The congregation spoke. These niggas ain't who they claim to be. A bunch of Peter pop-off niggas really be lames to me. Anytime you at war, it's gonna be casualties. The more we come together, it's easy to beat the enemy. Fake woke niggas be surrounding me daily, so I dance around them like my name was Alvin Ailey. Fake woke niggas be surrounding me daily. Alarm clock, wake 'em up, time to wake 'em up. Fake woke niggas be surrounding me daily, so I dance around them like my name was Alvin Ailey. Fake woke niggas be surrounding me daily. Alarm clock, wake 'em up, time to wake 'em up. Alarm clock to the woke, time to wake 'em up. The main initiative should be to get your cake up. You wave ride niggas need life jackets to stay afloat. Meanwhile, I'm blowing on gas straight from the ivory pass. And every post I'll be hitting y'all with them straight facts. The sound grid is now here, we gotta face down. While they coming with microchips and vaccinations, fake woke niggas perpetuating indoctrination. Fuck this pandemic scam. This was a damn gimmick. Niggas will believe that they mom died if she still living. Open your eyes, nigga. You can see the lies, nigga. See, we gotta stop letting the blind lead the blind, nigga. And that's the biggest fact, which you better tell them niggas. Listen in the 2030, it's gonna be hell, nigga. So fuck AOC and her new Green Deal. I'm Neo in this bitch. You want they red pill.